Good afternoon, Patriot pals. Thank you for joining me. Have a good day and God bless you. Let's get into the news. And to make things even more interesting, President Trump posted on his True Social account a picture of him sitting in the speaker's chair behind bumbling Biden, mocking and ridiculing him. The Gateway pundit is reporting that reliable sources, as they're calling them, reliable sources are saying that Trump would seriously consider doing it. He would definitely consider serving as Speaker. The House will obviously have to see how things play out today and possibly into the next week on that. Now, in the meantime, reports are coming out that Kevin McCarthy, who's now just suffered his 11th defeat in a row, has been busy making as many concessions and deals as possible throughout the night. What's going on here is that a number of McCarthy supporters are having to leave D.C. today and for the weekend. For example, one representative has to attend his mother's funeral, another has a physician's appointment. And the way voting works in the House of Representatives is that if the total number of representatives shrinks, then the majority, the threshold needed to win the speakership, comparably shrinks. So instead of needing 218, McCarthy would only need 216, for example, but that doesn't help him. The people we're leaving are his supporters, right? McCarthy does need representatives to leave in order to lower the threshold, but not among his supporters. So he's been very busy negotiating primarily with Chip Roy of Texas. If you don't know, Representative Roy is really seizing the moment here as the chief negotiator on behalf of the Freedom Caucus, which is the home of the ultra-MAGA representative, and it looks like they're getting literally everything they want from McCarthy. They're getting key positions on every single oversight committee. They're getting their demands to have only a single member of Congress force a no-confidence vote. In on the Speaker, you name it. But the problem, of course, is that the 5 or 6 stalwart members of the Never McCarthy wing of the Republican Party are making it impossible for McCarthy to get to the 218 votes he needs to be Speaker. Now again, keep in mind, the establishment started this, and they remember it was the establishment rhino Republicans, the shameless freaks who started it all with their Never Trump BS. These are the scumbags who excoriated patriots and conservatives for opposing McCain and Romney, parading us and chastising us for in effect voting for Obama. If we refuse to support the Republican nominee, you remember all that, right? Only to turn around and defiantly declare that Trump was fundamentally unacceptable as the Republican nominee. I mean, these kinds of scumbags. They have no soul. They are the establishment. They live and breathe and have their being to govern according to their own values, interests and concerns at the expense and disdain of the values, interests and concerns of their constituents. So they started this, and now their Never Trump temper tantrums are coming back to haunt them. Never Trump has now turned into Never McCarthy, Never Swamp, Never Establishment can play this game. So what is McCarthy going to do to overcome this Never McCarthy roadblock? And now, Kevin McCarthy become the next Speaker of the House of Representatives. Republicans laid out certain demands in order to get their vote, and some of them are actually pretty good. The stock market sees a big single-day rally, and former Prince Harry of England may have just put a target on the backs of his family. Representative Kevin McCarthy of California is now confident that he will become the next Speaker of the House. McCarthy stated, "We're going to make progress today. We're going to shock you. We're going to get it done." Since facing mass opposition, McCarthy has now been able to win over 14 of the 21 GOP members that were voting against him. However, he still faces opposition, especially from committed Republicans like Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida. Some areas that McCarthy has agreed to in order to win votes include a real discussion and vote on term limits for those that serve in Congress, when that be huge members from both parties want term limits. The only people that don't want it and never vote on it are members of Congress. And so these people that are holding out are saying, we demand a discussion and a vote on term limits in Congress. A single member of the Republican Party can call for McCarthy to step down as Speaker at any time. An investigation into the weaponization of the Department of Justice, 72 hours of time to read a new bill before it goes to the floor for a vote. Basically, there's been too much money passed, and too many bills passed with almost no members of Congress having time to go through and read the bill and understand it before voting on it. The other thing that these members want is to reveal the salary and the income sources of government workers. For example, many Americans were shocked to learn that Dr. Anthony Fauci makes more money than the President of the United States, and that he could be paid secret royalties that he does not have to disclose, leading many to believe if he is biased or pushing for certain drugs or big pharma drug makers because he's able to get secret kickbacks and royalties, so they want all of that to be transparent going forward. Now I have some great news for my community. Demar Hamlin, the NFL player that suffered cardiac arrest earlier this week, is now awake and communicating with his family. The Buffalo Bills stated Demar has shown remarkable improvement in the last 24 hours. While still critically ill, he has demonstrated that there appears to be no that he has neurologically intact. His lungs continue to heal and he's making steady progress. After Demar woke up, he asked Dr. Timothy Pritz if they won the game. Prince said yesterday, "Mr. You won the game of life. He should not have survived this." And he did. At the same time, his charity has raised $7.5 million in 1 week. Pretty cool. I'm so glad that he's alive and awake. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has called out Iran for continuing to. He stated Iran has now become Russia's top military backer. Iran must cease its support for Russia's unprovoked war of aggression on Ukraine. And we will continue to use every tool at our disposal to disrupt and delay these transfers and impose costs on actors engaged in this activity. The Biden administration has issued new sanctions on Iran that should make it harder for them to produce drones and missiles for Russia. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen stated that Russia's reliance on Iran for weapons shows that they are very desperate. In my opinion, I think this is a great move. If they can cut off the supplier for their weapons and their munitions, then it's going to give NATO and also Ukraine that much more advantage against Vladimir Putin. So the United States is going after Putin and his weapons supplier through the back door. Again, if they can cut this off, then it is a huge weakening point for Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation army. However, I think it's only fair to say that Secretary of State and Blinken continues to say that this was an unprovoked war. This is gaslighting in my opinion. There is proof that before the Ukraine was attacking its own people in the Donbass region, they were shelling them and attacking them. Also, for years, Vladimir Putin told NATO, "If you make Ukraine a member of NATO, then I will attack NATO." And so when that happened, he kept his word. And he attacks, so I don't think they should continue to say unprovoked. It's unwanted. It's horrible. It's horrific. I hate covering this topic. But in fairness, I don't believe that was unprovoked. The stock market seems to believe a new House Speaker will be chosen, and it's reacting positively. Indexes have risen on average over 2% in a single day, and many individual stocks are up big time. Gold and silver also saw a nice single-day bump as gold and silver are predicted to have a banner year in 2023 as the US dollar loses value. And remember WWE World Wrestling Entertainment. Well, they announced their former CEO is returning to the board in order to help sell the brand to the highest built bidder, and their stock jumped to 20% in a single day. Now just when you think a scumbag can't become more scummy, Sam Bateman-Fried, the disgraced CEO of the FTX Ponzi scheme, is trying to claim the $450 million he used of investor money to buy ownership in Robinhood as his, and that he wants his money back in order to fight his legal battles. So he's now trying to use stolen investor money to keep him out of jail. I mean, these investors deserve their money back. But this selfish boss wants their money in order to pay his legal bills. I mean, wow, just absolute wow. He continues to disgrace his family name. President Joe Biden has touted that the unemployment rate is now down to 3.5%. This is really good for the president but really terrible for the goals of the Federal Reserve. While reports show that the U.S. unemployment growth is slow, Biden stated this moderation in job growth is appropriate. And we should expect it to continue in the months ahead, even as we maintain resilience in our labor market recovery. A federal judge has ordered Trump to hand over the names of the investigators he hired to comb through his documents. The investigators were hired last fall to search for classified documents after Trump's team told that it had returned all classified materials. They even offered for the FBI to monitor these people. But the FBI said, "We don't want to be involved." This is where Trump may have made a mistake. It's now likely that the Department of Justice is trying to determine if Trump acted criminally. If the investigators knew of classified documents and made Trump aware of them, and Trump still did not return them, then he may have legal troubles ahead. However, It could come down to falling back on Trump's lawyers being at fault versus Trump himself, as Trump could claim he was unaware or did not have direct knowledge of each individual classified document. So this story continues. Although it is kind of losing steam in the media. Trump also put speculation to rest that he would run as an independent president. He's going to stick with the Republican Party. He stated good things will soon happen for the Republican Party and 2024 will be a monster in a good way. Of course, this seems to indicate that he will be continuing to run as a Republican candidate. Former British Prince Harry released a new book called Spare that is getting more negative feedback than positive feedback. In the book, he details his sexual history, his drug use history, and his time in the Queen's military service. In the book, he brags about killing 25 members of the Taliban. The Taliban is now calling for the extradition of Prince Harry to face war crimes in Afghanistan. Many military intel members say the former prince may have endangered his life and his family's lives by admitting this, and the Taliban will surely seek revenge. So hopefully they don't. But that was probably a really bad move on his part, to brag about that, as he's just made a bunch of enemies that now know he killed their brothers. And so anyway, not great news for former Prince Harry. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. If you're up for it, I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks for watching.